C.U.T.S, Cradle Under the Star.
Welcome back to Team C.U.T.S. I'm C.U.T.S co-founder, Diario. Video game demos are a concept that is very common in today's world. Has been since the early days of gaming itself. From the form of open betas, to previews of a larger narrative experience, a demo is a great way to get players playing, in order to hype up a game as well as provide valuable feedback to the developer. In some cases, even prototypes can fit the description of a demo. Media outlets can get a preview version of a game a fair bit of time before a release, for coverage purposes or guide purposes, etc. In the case of the Clock Tower series, we've previously documented 6 demo discs for Clock Tower 2, released as Clock Tower overseas, 5 from Japan, and 1 from the US. Maybe one more that is yet to be found, but that's another topic for another time. Ghosthead, aka The Struggle Within, received a demo for members attending Tokyo Game Show 1998. Clock Tower 3 got a promotional copy of the full game for European territories. It's known that preview copies of Demento exist in Japan, with promotional copies existing in Europe, and a US prototype that exists as well. But what about Clock Tower? The first game that started it all on the Super Famicom. The third game in Human Entertainment's cinematic live series of games, which sparked a cult classic survival horror series of its own. There's been documentation of a prototype build that was covered and dumped for sharing on NintendoPlayer.com. A full version of the game with only slight differences in audio encoding. It's speculated that this prototype was intended for those in charge of writing strategy guides or strategy coverage in magazines. As of this typing, there has been another form of Clock Tower Super Famicom that has made its rounds online 3 times, with coverage of 2 of the 3 copies, and 1 with none so far. This cart had not been preserved and has piqued the curiosity of some of the more elite Clock Tower fans. We wondered if we would ever get the chance to cover it on our own. Now's the time to do so. Enter the Clock Tower Commercial Sampler. This is a cart that houses a unique build of Clock Tower. The cart was made to give players a taste of the horrors that awaited in the full game. Existence of the commercial sampler for Clock Tower Super Famicom can be dated as far back as 2005. A page on NintendoPlayer.com, the same page that a previously mentioned prototype was covered, also covered the commercial sampler. This cart was won on a Japanese auction site by user Laurent, the webmaster at Video Game Den, one of many independently owned databases for preserving regionally distributed games. The card appears like a standard Super Famicom card, with the Human Entertainment logo on the cover, a number marking, with some of it covered in whiteout, and a sticker that says, "Return Requested." At that time, the cart wasn't dumped, but screenshots were provided detailing the contents of this card. We attempted to reach Laurent a few years back, hoping he had dumped the cart and would allow us to share it publicly in collaboration with him. Unfortunately, nothing materialized from our contact. The commercial sampler would not make a resurgence online until 2021, when a Super Famicom cart surfaced on a Japanese auction site. This cart was said to house a Clock Tower game on it. Many were quick to bid on this cart at the time, Team C.U.T.S included, and it ended up selling for 67,100 yen. This cart featured different labeling than the one that Laurent had. A blue striped label with a commercial sample description from Human Entertainment, partially obscured by whiteout. There also seems to be a catalog number of 64. It wouldn't be long before we'd learn that YouTuber Koala from Koala's Game Show was the winner of the cart. In the video released on Koala's channel, we get an opening of the cart to reveal that the board in this cart is identical to the one seen in Laurent's cart. Loading the cart into a Super Famicom, it was revealed to be the same commercial sampler as well. The back of Koala's cart had 16M0124 written in marker. We were interested in contacting Koala on the chance of dumping this cart and preserving it, but we couldn't find a good way to reach Koala, so that plan didn't materialize as well. As we've made our coverages and built our following here at Team C.U.T.S, we held out hope that someday we could see a dump of this elusive cart. At the time of Koala's video, the cart had made its way online twice and no one made the decision to dump them. Fast forward to now, 2024. A third cart appeared online only a short while ago. This cart was nearly identical to the one that Koala had. Only this one was cataloged with a number of 88. 88? 64? Are these just catalog numbers, or do even more of these carts exist than we initially thought? I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyways. With the combined efforts of Team C.U.T.S, we knew we had to strike this time, and strike we did. The auction was fierce. 32 users were present to bid on the cart, and bidding lasted for about a week. This auction ended at a 92,000 yen bid. This bid was the bid that won, and we were the winners of the cart, all for the sake of preservation. So let's take a closer look at the cart that we have right now. The label on the cart reads, Nintendo Super Famicom, must return, commercial sample number 88, Human Corp, unauthorized copying or use prohibited. The back of the cart has 203-0-60 or 203-10160 written in marker. We're currently unsure whether this is a specific series of numbers or if it's a barcode of sorts. Opening the cart up, the back of the board has a sticker that reads, Human 16M0098. This would be similar to the code written on the back of the number 64 cart, 16M0124. The 16M portion refers to the memory of the cart, 16 megabit. It's currently unclear what the rest of these numbers refer to. If anyone knows in greater detail what this code and the previous ones may be in reference to, please let us know in the comments below. On the board itself, you'll notice 4 EPROMs that are present. These ROM chips all have an exposed window with reflectors on them. We've learned that when these reflectors are exposed to harsh UV light, it can erase game data stored on the cart. There's also a battery-backed SRAM chip to store save data. Well, we've built up this cart a lot at this point. Let's go ahead and play it. The first thing we see when starting the demo is the same intro that is present in the final game. It's September of 1995. In Romsdal, Norway, orphans Jennifer, Anne, Lottie, and Laura are adopted from the Granite Orphanage by a Miss Mary to meet the owner of their new home, Mr. Barrows. Following this, we get an advertisement of the game with eye-catching headlines and a showcase of scenes from the full game. Human Panic Soft, Part 3. A cinematic live game. Clock Tower. Price 11,400 yen, excluding tax. Fear is forthcoming. And here we are at a menu, which offers us 3 selectable sample game options. To anyone getting flashbacks to the mobile Clock Tower game released in 2021? Yeah, Human did it first. These sample games are rooms specifically picked by Human to give players a feel for the point-and-click system and to showcase one terrifying element for each room. Let's select Sample Game 1. We're in the music room, which has random interactable elements every time you enter the room. We can interact with the piano, which can summon Bobby randomly. Bobby can also be hiding behind the curtain, or the staff could be obtainable there instead. The record player may also randomly start playing that terrifying sound. By the way, the demo for the room you're in can end in one of three ways: getting killed, getting chased out of a room, exiting a door. We're then taken back to the menu. Selecting Sample Game 2 takes you to the bathroom. It's full of Mode 7 steam in here. The sink appears to be working. Open up the curtains to witness the unfortunate death of one of the orphans that was adopted alongside you. Scissorman gives chase. We're safe for now. Let's head into Sample Game 3. We're in a bedroom. Jennifer can look at a strange picture and obtain a bottle of perfume. We can also interact with the mirror. Okay, let's not do that again. There is the caged parrot, which upon freeing will give thanks by trying to kill Jennifer. How can Jennifer stop it? That takes care of that. Exiting either of the two doors will end this demo. And that's all the rooms available in this sampler. You're probably wondering what oddities may be hiding in this demo's files. Could there be any differences to the final game? Maybe some earlier unused elements? When exactly could we even date this card? For answers to these questions, we went to a previous guest from our Deep Cuts podcast interview series. The modder behind Clock Tower Deluxe, Bob Schneider, 45. Bob was as interested as we were to check the files of this card. Here are some of the major takeaways from his search. Most sprites and backgrounds from rooms that are not shown in this demo have been removed. The only exceptions are Bobby and Jennifer, who still have their full set of graphics and animations, and also the common sprite set that has things like doors and animals. All of the in-game text from the full version is included, even though just a fraction of it will be used. Probably in relation to this, every character portrait remains as well. Bobby can still follow you into any room except the kitchen if a chase is ongoing when you enter. This can be done using cheat codes. Of course, there is no free movement in the kitchen or the courtyard, which is just as well since all interactions and boundaries were removed in those areas anyways. The demo has almost all the code and graphics from the original startup screens and main menu. And even though this is a demo, your progress is saved whenever you enter a room, just like in the retail release. Using hacks to access the main menu confirms that the save file can be loaded with the Continue option. The ending list also works as intended. You can actually use cheat codes to view and unlock the two car endings, since all of their data was kept. There does not appear to be any kind of build date or build number in the ROM, but the leftover content seems to indicate that this was made by modifying the finished game, adding the trailer sequence and leaving out excess rooms. So in short, it seems that this demo is not an earlier build, but a stripped down version of the retail game. All the findings listed above would support the theory that this demo was made and displayed around the game's release. This could be further supported by this advertisement for Clock Tower, which was published in Famitsu's September 29, 1995 issue, about 2 weeks after release. You can see here that the same "Fear is forthcoming" headline from the sampler is featured here. along with scenes from the bathroom scenario, which is one of the rooms that you can select in the sampler. But even with all of this, how can we be absolutely sure that this sampler was distributed around launch? Can we be more concrete than we have been already? We went ahead and contacted another person who may be able to tell us more. Hanashingo, one of the original background artists for Clock Tower on Super Famicom. This was a bit of a long shot. As Clock Tower is now nearly a 30-year-old game, Hanashingo may or may not remember specifics in regards to his time around the game's release. But we have spoken extensively with him on Clock Tower before, and he was willing to hear any question we wanted to throw at him. We went ahead and asked him if he remembered anything regarding this store sampler. Hanashingo had this to say. This ROM cassette was probably sample software for sales use. At the time, the internet was not yet widespread in ordinary households. Therefore, in order to promote the games we were developing to users, it was important to have them published in game magazines. In other words, it seems that they were distributing the copies to game magazines and game retailers to promote newly created games. The statement refers to the ad that we previously mentioned. And we conclude, given the information we found and presented, that this sampler was sent to game stores and magazine companies like Famitsu around release of Clock Tower in order to generate excitement for the game. Truly fascinating that a small demo would hold quite a bit of history around it. So after all this coverage, what is to become of this store sampler now? Well, this commercial sampler for Clock Tower has been dumped and preserved, and it'll be included as a bonus for the upcoming Clock Tower Rewind. That's right, thanks to the teams at WayForward and Limited Run Games, we're honored to have the opportunity to contribute this demo to an official Clock Tower release. This is the first time that the first game in the series will make its official worldwide debut. Look out for official updates from WayForward and Limited Run, and be sure to support Clock Tower Rewind as it releases soon for modern consoles and PC. And stay tuned on Team C.U.T.S for more on all things Clock Tower. Thank you for watching, and remember, fear is forthcoming.